Hi there. This is Don Geiss with another of our series of videotapes on outstanding people in the field of African violets. As we mentioned in other tapes, this is strictly an amateur tape. It makes no attempt whatsoever to edit.
Your fancy over here that you was doing an hour ago.
That's a pretty right there.
I want to spend a few seconds here
Yeah, that is
turning the camera around the
relevant.
Monk's plant room. Many of the viewers of this tape series have asked us to do more with showing pictures of flowers. And so we're trying to oblige, at least in the sense of giving you a rough idea of the folks here and the type of operation they have. Our guests today are J.C. and Lenora Munk, who own the Violet Shop in Houston, Texas, and have been longtime lovers of African violets, as most of our audience will be aware. And I guess the first thing I want to ask one of you is how long have you been in business?
Since 1977, the fall of 1977.
Okay, but you just didn't start with a whole bunch of plants. How did you get started?
Buying just a few at a time from a shop near our house. And of course you can't bring so many home, you don't have room for them. And that way it got started.
Just sort of got out of hand.
It got out of hand, planting too many leaves.
Well, now, how did you learn the technique? I mean, there's a lot of people bring violets home and they proceed to put them on the kitchen sill and they die.
Well, we talked to a lot of people that had violet shops, and we took all the magazines that we could possibly get. You can get good information from the ABSA magazine. And every book that I found that was for sale in that magazine, we have purchased. And reading and just reading and trying, you know, that's the way we got started.
Have you always been on the wicking system of raising violets?
Yes.
Okay. Now then, you got your few, but you didn't just start in a ready-made place. How did you get to this location? That is to this building and so on.
Well, when the house got full, it was time to spread out, so we cleaned what was his shop out and painted it and got stands out of the house, and that's the way we got started. Then I joined the Spring Branch African Violet Club, which we still belong to, and I've been president for four years. And you know, you learn a lot, and they had the sales and the shows, in which we enjoyed very much, and the fellowship that you get from the club.
Okay, but these other club members, usually they have a few violets, but you just sort of took over as far as growing and growing and growing.
Well, yes, we didn't start selling right away, but everybody seen our plants, and so many were asking about buying them. And I really didn't know how to sell a violet. And so my friend Meredith Hall helped me quite a bit and told me what to do. And you see, some of these ladies in the club were in it for a longer time than what we had grew violets, and they were pretty well versed on what to do and help us, and they were very helpful.
And then the hybridizing, how did you get into that? You got the series?
Well, he read some articles in the magazines about hybridizing, and he liked it, and he wanted the challenge to see what he could do.
JC, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know, when you hybridize, you finally have lots of plants, but you can't name them all. You have to go through 3 generations, and so you have to have lots of room. And then I tried it. I did a few, But he liked it a lot better than I did, so I just let him have it.
Okay, and that kept you busy, J.C.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
He'd raise them and name them, and I'd sell them. I had a craft shop when we first started, and I sold them at the craft shop first.
Okay, where was the craft shop located in relation to where you are now?
It was on Gessner, which is about 3 miles from here.
Oh, I see. It wasn't anywhere near this location.
No, we've never been in a real strip center, but after the lease was going to go up again, it was time to close it, and crafts were changing.
Uh-huh.
It was going into needlepoint and a lot of things like that. And so I let the craft shop go, and we came home, and we've been selling here now since 1985.
Well, I'm interested, though, in pursuing a little bit more the idea of hybridizing. It just isn't every plant grower and person who goes into the business who actually goes into the hybridizing.
Well, that's true, but we don't go on many vacations, or none at all. We don't golf, we don't swim, we don't fish, and this is a hobby.
Well,
The hobby got out of hand.
I think what really got my interest in the beginning, we went out to visit Winston Smith, and he was the one that had the Wrangler series of violets long before we ever got involved in them. And he had pretty big greenhouses out at Liberty. He lived in Liberty, Texas. And we went out there a good many times to visit him when we bought a few plants from him along when we went out there. But I was interested in his hybridizing techniques and the plants that he picked to make his crosses with. And this just fascinated me all to death. I figured if he could do it, I could sure try, at least one time. And I made a few crosses, and lo and behold, I got some seeds. And of course, being new and green at the game, this turns your enthusiasm. You can see dollars already, even if they're not there, you know. And I kept trying and kept trying, and each time I thought I was doing better to make better offspring than what I had to start with. This was my goal. And I finally decided to make a series name, and all the variegated violets that I'd done and named and released were in the Apache series. And then later on I done some of the green foliage, because a lot of folks, they like the green leaf ones because they figure they might be a little more vigorous and not as quite as delicate as some of the real pink variegated types are. And I put them into a rodeo series, so I've got 2 series.
How many in each series?
Oh
About?
gosh, I don't really know offhand. Probably in the Apache series there is about 150, somewhere in that neighborhood, and maybe 50 or 40 to 50 in the rodeo series.
And I would guess that probably out of the 150, there are a lot of them floating around the country, but you couldn't come up with some of the early ones at all.
No, I couldn't put my finger on them because they were so long ago, and you're right, they're scattered around. We've had people tell us about them from Japan and from England, and I had no earthly idea that something that would come up out of my backyard will wind up on the other side of the world. But they do travel. I guess they got there by leaves.
Yeah, I belong to 2 computer groups, and I'm talking to people from Japan and Switzerland and so on, and we've seen your hybrids mentioned quite a few of those countries. That's where they got there is leaves.
Yeah, because I don't think, well, the restrictions, they won't allow nothing with soil or roots to go in that way, so they have to take the leaf, bare leaf.
Yeah. Well, I think that's marvelous. About when did you start that, the hybridizing?
Probably the early part of the 1980s, I think.
Yeah, I
around
guess
that.
so. Yeah.
Okay. Now, did I understand you to say earlier that you're slowly shutting down?
Because of health reasons.
If we had the oomph, you know, it would be a different story, but I can't do it, and it's too big a load on her.
But we have his mother who's 97 and blind.
Oh, good.
She's healthier than both of us.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
She doesn't go to the doctor, doesn't take any medicine. And when they get that old and they can't see, they are a lot of work.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I
But
used to
I'm not quitting. We're just cutting down so we can have prettier plants.
Uh-huh.
And we have some regular customers that look forward to coming out here.
So you're still going to keep at it, really,
Oh, yeah.
in a smaller scale?
Right.
Okay.
I think that's a smart thing to do.
Okay, well, let's let that be an end to the conversation. And we've been talking today to J.C. and Lenora Munk, who have been in this African violet business for many, many years, and have indeed a couple of hybridized series that certainly are known worldwide. And we thank you folks very much. We just wanted to take a shot here of the all the various ribbons that the monks have won during their involvement with African violets. And we'll zoom in here just a little bit. And just as we leave, we want to take a final quick shot of some of the gorgeous plants in bloom.